Minister for the Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Dr. Ajay Mathur, Director General of TERI, the Honorable Matthew J. Nolan, Treasurer of Air Quality Asia, respected ministers, members of parliament, distinguished speakers, friends, none more so than my good friend Shazia Rafi, who has spearheaded Air Quality Asia for South Asia all the way from the US. I'm delighted to welcome this distinguished gathering at the 4th edition of the annual Roundtable Consultation Series. I think that Matthew Nolan has had some difficulty in connecting with us, and therefore it is my pleasure to act as the MC for the start of this proceeding. We have really three voices in this opening session: our Honourable Minister, Dr. Mathur, and myself, and the overall theme is that of driving central and state level actions. I'm really pleased, if I may say so on a personal note, to note the manner in which this platform has steadily grown in these last 4 years, following the first closed-door edition of consultations that I convened literally around, not quite around, but an oval table in July 2017. At that time, I had brought together civil society stakeholders, technical experts, communications professionals, and senior healthcare practitioners, including the current director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, to a discussion on how we could collaborate and develop a comprehensive strategy to address India's crisis of toxic air. At that point, it looked like a bit of an orphan initiative, but it has grown significantly in attention and support. In the second year, we had the Observer Research Foundation working with us. In the third year, I was delighted to have the co-sponsorship of TERI, the Energy Research Institute, and its Director General, Dr. Ajay Mathur, who co-chaired the event with me last time, is here. Delighted to welcome him. And for the first time, we had the Government of India represented with an inaugural address last year by the Honourable Minister for the Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Shri Prakash Javadekar. Prakashji gave us an absolutely inspiring speech on clean air. And what delighted me was to see not only buy-in for this issue at the very highest levels of the government, but a personal engagement that meant that he could speak to us without any notes for about half an hour and keep the audience absolutely focused on the key issues before us. I'm delighted to welcome him back. I have known him now for all my dozen years in Indian politics, when we were on opposite sides of the government-opposition divide, and we feel fortunate that he has agreed to come back to us this year and to once again deliver the inaugural address. So I will start by requesting first Dr. Ajay Mathur, the Director General of TERI, who is also a member of the Prime Minister's Council on Climate Change, to say his words of welcome to the participants of this meeting. We will then invite, I will say a few words by way of an opening address, and finally invite the Honourable Minister for an inaugural address. Dr. Mathur, the first words to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I am sorry that my camera isn't working because of bandwidth. Let me thank you and at the same time welcome each one of you here. We are delighted yet again to work with Clean Air Asia on getting us all together here. Last year has been one of huge events. It has seen on the one hand, the growth of a larger community of actors who are deeply involved with air quality. And while we have seen, at least in Delhi, we haven't seen a great decline in the air pollution, what we have seen is a much greater degree of commitment, both at the level of people and most importantly at the level of policy, to address this issue. I must say that the creation of a multi-jurisdictional commission, and for full disclosure, I am a member of the commission, But the creation of a multi-jurisdictional commission is, I think, a great first step in moving in the direction of bringing all the stakeholders on board to address this issue. It could of with air pollution in the future cities are there. As we look at this issue, we look at the science that underlies this. We fully understand that ultimately it is the politics of my actions and your actions which determines how air quality will play out. But it is also important that we see what is the science that bases actions, whether it is mine or more importantly that of the government. The setting up of monitoring stations across the country, the creation of the source inventories, the development of city-wide action plans are a good first step. And together with transparency, I think they help us move ahead. We are delighted that we have this big gathering of legislators, of at all levels of government, of policymakers, of the leaders of the pollution control boards here with us. It is this discussion, it is these conversations that will drive action in the days to come. So whether it is in the process of political models or whether it is in the process of scientific data or institutional commitments, I think we are at a different discussion today than we were a year ago. So I welcome you all here again. And again, may I say how delighted we are to have you all with us.
That's great. Thank you very much, Dr. Mathur. I really appreciate your remarks. I believe it's my turn for an opening address. I won't repeat what I said in substituting for Mr. Nolan, who I gather has now joined us, so I'll give him a concluding word after the minister. But just to say that undoubtedly this has grown, as Dr. Mathur has rightly pointed out. I think it's very important that that in the last couple of years we focused on the political class, which to that point had remained largely apathetic to the issue of air pollution. But through the expansion of this platform, by working closely with Terry last year and with the minister and the government, I think this platform has contributed to bridging that gap. And during the 2018 edition, we had 13 parliamentarians attending. That was in partnership with ORF. And in 2019, when we joined with you, Dr. Mathur, and of course, we had the privilege of Shri Prakash Javadekar attendance, I would say that that his willingness to engage with the subject, receive stakeholder inputs, and the increasing spirit of bipartisanship that he has personally championed has taken the issue to a different level altogether. Now, this year, we have all agreed to focus on the role of cities and states in our campaign against toxic air, along with the corresponding efforts of implementing agencies. And in our current air quality strategies, state administrations and urban local bodies are in many ways the heartbeat of our efforts. They're responsible for leading the campaign for clean air. And we are privileged to have eminent voices from states, including 2 state ministers who will join us in the next session, who displayed a remarkable sense of initiative and leadership in matters of the environment and will be sharing their thoughts with the gathering later this evening. Unlike the early years of the roundtable, as a cautious optimist, I believe there's a growing recognition within the political class that the issue of air pollution, the corresponding impact on larger themes of climate change, as well as the debilitating effects on our own personal health, cannot be indefinitely ignored. I think election campaigns have begun to see people talk about poor air. We, for the first time, had a parliament discussion. Javadekar Saab will remember this, on clean air. I spoke at it myself in the Lok Sabha. And I think the fact that there is now officially a clean air, national clean air policy, though some will dismiss this as plans only on paper, I would say it's indicative of green shoots and growing awareness amongst vital players that our nation's development priorities require cleaning up air pollution in our country. And this is a window that should open up further in the post-pandemic era, because in many ways, the COVID-19 pandemic has offered a sobering reminder to all of us of the fragility of our own humanity and the importance of securing our personal health. We've all suffered, many of us to greater and lesser degree, unquantifiable pain and losses as families, as communities, as individuals. I think very clearly we need to shore up the defenses of the communities we live in and develop an environment that safeguards our health against such threats. I think, Prakash Bhai, you are likely to agree that the limited public expenditure on healthcare, which I read at woeful 1.28% of our GDP, must be improved at all levels. I'm sure we've spent more than that this year thanks to COVID, but we have to invest far more in an effective public health system. We also need a completely different mindset in the eyes of both the voter and public representatives when it comes to recognizing the value of health as a public good. And at the same time, we need not just to be less vulnerable to future contagions and pandemics, but also at the same time to protect our economic capabilities. At the end of the day, the engine of growth is our Indian workforce, and an unhealthy and vulnerable workforce will not generate the economic growth the country needs. While the Prime Minister invoked the famous 18th century Urdu poet Mir Taki Mir to rightly point out that Jaan hai to jahan hai, while announcing the national lockdown, existing research has already highlighted that the economic implications of deteriorating air quality are ominous. Many here may be aware of the 2013 World Bank study, which estimated that welfare costs and lost labor income due to air pollution alone cost the exchequer nearly 8.5% of India's GDP. Labor losses due to air pollution, in terms of number of man days lost, for instance, resulted in a reported loss of 55.39 billion a year. And premature deaths cost the country an estimated 7.6% of GDP, $505 billion. This is all according to the World Bank 7 years ago. I'm sure it's only got worse as Delhi's air has got worse and the air of other countries, other cities in our country has got worse. There's also growing research that has linked air pollution and even COVID-19 morbidity. Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health has suggested that the lethality of COVID-19 is made worse with air pollution. Based on data from nearly 3,000 counties in the US, researchers at Harvard University have pointed out that increase in long-term exposure to PM 2.5 will contribute to higher fatality amongst those affected with coronavirus. And counties are registered as little as 1 microgram per cubic meter of PM 2.5, more than their counterparts, at 15% higher COVID fatality rate. Can you imagine with India, with Delhi in particular, what the implications would be? There's been a similar study in Italy by scientists from Denmark's Aarhus University, which has pointed out that regions in the northern part of that country with high levels of air pollution registered the highest number of coronavirus-related deaths, 12% versus 4.5% in the southern part with lower air pollution. And there were similar studies by the University of California in China. So it's a matter of concern to all of us who live in regions where air quality is often poor and has remained poor. Severe exposure to foul air, as we're accustomed to in Delhi, inevitably means that most of us have gradually developed weaker respiratory systems and other conditions that would make us even more vulnerable to a virus like COVID-19. Even among those who may otherwise be young, who work out, who don't smoke, who eat a nutritious diet, they can all suffer only because of air quality. I suffer myself, and my throat and eyes are constantly inflamed by the air in Delhi, so I speak with feeling about this. I hope we will seize this opportunity in the post-COVID world with ambition, capitalize on this realization. In a country as diverse and stratified as ours, crises we are required to address daily are many, and often some will have to take priority over others. But if we have greater willingness to clean up our air, engage in matters of health, fix the environment we live in, I think we will do well by the entire country, by the economy, by each of us. And I believe there's growing recognition that the silent killer of toxic air affects us all, no matter where we live in the country, what political and ideological affiliations we may have, what socioeconomic class we find ourselves in. No one is insulated from air pollution. That's a discovery. As somebody said about toxic water and the rivers, we all live downstream. That's why I'm so pleased that our next speaker giving the inaugural address is my very good friend, Shri Prakash Javadekar. I'm very grateful to him for taking time out of his busy schedule as Union Minister, to join us. I also want to thank all the distinguished speakers and participants who've shown their willingness to engage with us on this issue. Special thanks also due to the two state ministers who've joined us today. We had also invited a third state minister from the state of Karnataka, the environment minister, but he seems to have been held up in his own state's assembly session and may not be able to join us. But I do want to thank all these ministers for their considerable leadership on the environment, and you will hear from two of them anyway in a short while at the end of this session. It's a pleasure to have you all here with us today. Let me request the Honourable MJ Nolan, if he's back, to formally introduce my good friend, Union Minister for the Environment, Shri Prakash Javadekar. Thank you all for listening to me. Jai Hind.
Honourable Minister Javadekar, Honourable Dr Tharoor, my fellow board member on Air Quality Asia, Dr Mahur, our host, Honorary State Ministers, Honorary Mayor, President of Air Quality Asia, Honorary Members of Parliament, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. May I first of all apologise for the small technical issues that we had earlier on just at the start of the meeting. It's my pleasant role to, on behalf of Air Quality Asia, I would like to welcome you all and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to deliberate on how we drive central, state and city level actions to achieve a clean air economy in India. Air Quality Asia is an international parliamentary advocacy group focusing on a breathable future for Asia. Having served for 23 years as a Member of Parliament in Ireland, I was very honoured to join Air Quality Asia Board as its Treasurer. Since 2016, Air Quality Asia has been working with high-level policymakers to implement the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and the Paris Agreement by assisting governments across Asia to strengthen national environment and energy policies. We are, as we've heard, living in unprecedented times due to a series of global threats. COVID-19 pandemic and exacerbations of climate change being just two of the primary challenges. With over 1.5 million lives having been lost to date to the COVID virus. As tragic as the current outbreak is, there is another silent killer that continues to claim lives. According to the World Health Organization, air pollution kills over 7 million people every year, with limited response from government around the world. There is evidence that the spread of COVID-19 pandemic is accelerated in regions experiencing high levels of air pollution. Scientists also suggest that air pollution particles may be acting as vehicles for viral transmission. So we must clean up our air across the globe, and our decision makers at all levels, be they national, subnational, and metropolitan, are going to have to adopt and implement policies for cleaner air. We in Air Quality Asia hope that this meeting will assist in accelerating this process in India. And I thank you all again for your participation. Thank you.
Hello.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Prakashji, the floor is yours. Mr. Nolan was able to connect a bit late, and that's why his initial remarks came now. But we are very happy to hand the floor over to you, the Honourable Union Minister for the Environment, Shri Prakash Javadekar.
Yeah, thank you, Shashi, very much. Thank you, Ajay Mathur. Thank you, Air Asia, not the airline, but which consider seriously about air issues, and all the friends. I'm very happy to be with you. Last year, I was in person there in Habitat Center. But this year, we are, as for last 1 year, we are witnessing the virtual meetings. Now I have conducted at least 17 meetings of various ministers in various countries, together or separately or bilateral. Everything is now being done on virtual. There are some benefits. Everybody comes on time. Everybody speaks exactly and meticulously follows the timetable. And second is, more important is that you finish up program without any formalities, and that conveys everything. So this is good, but that should not remain for always. But now it will be always hybrid method in all offices, because even without COVID, we are now seeing the benefits of this also and limitations of this method also. So first, let me start with saying that air quality is a very big issue, and we are committed to solve it and improve the air quality in Indian cities. And what can be the best pledge than Prime Minister himself from the Red Fort rampart on 15th August declared that in 100 cities we will improve the air quality by at least 20-25% within next 4 years. That's a very big announcement. And I think for that we have launched National Clean Air Program. And what is the essence of it is, it will have a city-specific pollution, anti-pollution plan. Because every city, as we know, there are general factors responsible for pollution. A, industry; two, vehicles; three, waste management; fourth, dust; fifth, stubble burning or biomass burning; and fifth, again, meteorology. And these causes differ in every cities. I just want to show you a Samir app today, which you should also download, because that gives you exact information of pollution throughout the country. And see, today's picture is now, latest picture is this. This picture shows that Gangetic Belt has most pollution, and South India has less pollution. I'll just take three examples. The same population load: Delhi, Mumbai, Greater Mumbai, then Bangalore and Chennai. All are nearly 2 crore population conglomerates. Industries are same. Vehicles are nearly same. Everything remains same. Waste is also same. So what is the difference? That Delhi has 300 plus for last so many days, and today Chennai is 29 AQI. In Mumbai it is 140, and in Bangalore it is 45. Why this happens? I will not say Thiruvananthapuram because that is not comparable at a scale. So, but it's a good city, and so we love it. That's a God's own country. But more importantly, these three cities, what is the special factor which is responsible for worst pollution in Delhi and Gangetic Belt? Let us also think clearly that, as I said, industrial activity, vehicular activities, waste management system, construction and demolition, and the overall systems of dust management, and everything matters. because that where our action starts. But there are also natural factors. There are also certain meteorological factors we must consider. And I'll not take much time on it because that is not the main plank of my speech today. But let us understand that why it is different in Delhi and why it is very less in Bombay, in Bangalore and Chennai. The reason are four. One is the dust, because in Gangetic belt it is alluvial soil. In southern India it's a Western Ghat, Deccan Plateau, and therefore it is a solid rock, and therefore it is less dust. So dust moving freely is one essential difference between the North Indian cities, Gangetic belt and non-Gangetic belt. Two, the stubble burning which takes place in Punjab and Haryana this time it was nearly half than what it was last year, but Punjab was more than last year. But that is also for only 50 days. We have 180 days of bad air, and they were 240 in 2014. We brought it down with efforts to 180, and now 6 months are good, 6 months are bad. That is the Delhi's air pollution profile. So what is happening is dust is one thing. Second is meteorology, where Himalayan chilled weather, the winter weathers, and the moisture from Ganges also mix with dust. And if there is no wind, you have tremendous pollution. If there is a wind, then you don't find pollution for that day. So this is how things are happening. So let us also factor, while talking and discussing about this topic, that there is one meteorological factor also which is responsible and we must take account for. But that does not absolve us of responsibility to tackle the pollution, whatever it is. And therefore, what we have done is very important things. As I think that the process of solution to problem starts by recognition of the problem. And 2015 Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched Air Quality Index. And that was the recognition of a fact that there exists a problem and we will solve it with cooperation of all people. And over the years, it will take longer time because some people romanticize. During COVID, we could see Himalayan peaks. We could have fresh weather. If you stop vehicles, if you stop industries, there will be always cleaner weather. But that doesn't happen always, no. Otherwise, how you will survive? So it's a problem of livelihood also. But we must do better practices of industry, better practices of vehicles, better practices of waste management, and better practices of dust management. That is what is important. And therefore, in vehicles, we have done three major things in all the cities. With the investment of more than 12 billion US dollar, we have improved the refineries to produce BS6 level of fuel, and that is very important. And we mandated car manufacturers also, and truck manufacturers and two-wheeler manufacturers also to have BS6 compliant vehicles. So what happens when you have a BS6 compliant vehicle plus BS6 fuel? Then you reduce nearly 60 to 70% of pollution causing from vehicles. So that's a huge difference with huge investment. And that has, we skipped stage 5 and we leapfrog to BS6. That was one. Second is, we created Eastern and Western Express Peripheral Way. Better road is one solution to pollution, because better road makes traffic easy. Like what we used to see in Dhaula Kua, we used to wait for 20 minutes. Now you don't wait any time. It's 2 minutes journey and you are gone, because that also causes relief. And what we have done is, With Eastern Western Express Peripheral Way, which was languishing for 10 years, we completed in 4 years. And what happened is, now 60,000 non-destined vehicles which were passing through Delhi and polluting Delhi don't enter into Delhi periphery. So that's a basic difference. We have also given e-push. Now we have 300,000 e-vehicles, e-cars, more than 100,000 e-rickshaws, more than 100,000 or even more than 500,000 scooties, and we have also adopted battery swapping policy and creating infrastructure for battery charging. That e-push is very important. CNG buses is another factor of decision. For metro is a big decision because we are spreading metros in more than 15 cities, including Thiruvananthapuram, including my Pune city, including now Agra also today. Everything, when you build metro, you provide environmental friendly public transport. And that is very important because in foreign countries also I have seen less facilities for public transport. We have buses, we have three-wheelers, we have four-wheeler taxis more, and we have also metro railways. So in Delhi, we are carrying 5 million people, 5 million people every day in a normal situation, not in COVID situation. So that gives you an environmentally friendly, that saves 5 lakh cars on the road. That's most important. So this is about transport. About industry, we have closed down Badarpur and Sonipat power plant, and we have decided to phase out all the old power plants. And now latest decision is, with investment of more than $6 billion US dollars, we are actually implementing coal to liquid, because that will reduce pollution burden in power sector. Then we are monitoring 24/7 4,500 polluting industries of the country. There we have put machines on their sensor machines on their chimney as well as on their discharge water pipeline, and that gives us real-time feedback every 15 minutes. If they are, they receive SMS immediately, and if they don't improve, we even close the industries. Then they improve. That's our experience. So we have introduced zigzag technology to reduce brick kilns pollution. At the same time, we have banned pet coke in NCR area. We are also introduced piped natural gas in more than 3,000 industries. And now we are taking more action because commission, which Ajay Mathur referred and for which Ajay Mathur is also a member there. So it will take actions, and it will take actions against pyrolysis and other things which are happening on ground. So that is second. For stubble burning, we made 1,100 crore rupees last year and 300 crore rupees this year to provide machines, and also waste management. C&D rules were made in 2016. Since independence, construction and demolition waste management rules were not made. We made it, and not only made it, now in Delhi there are 3 plants operating which process 6,000 tons of debris every day and creating roadside furniture, tiles and other things. So that is also very important. We are also 3 units are producing 52 megawatt of electricity in Delhi. That's the best example. Other are in pipeline, still to be proved very useful. And more importantly, C&D waste, as I told you, bioremediation of legacy waste and more greenery is the way forward. We have increased 15,000 square kilometers in last 6 years, the tree cover outside the forest and inside the forest. So that's also creates the carbon sequestration. We have taken up a responsibility of creating additional 2.5 billion tons of carbon emission, carbon sequestration, and we have also taken up restoration of land of 26 million hectares at target, and that will also create carbon sequestration. Last but not least, 2 points more. We have 50 teams of CPCB going nook and corner of the NCR region and taking note of it, of every thing that doesn't happen. So we have also found out that how the Yamuna froth is there. So we have issued notices. We have also seen how governments, Delhi, Haryana, or any Punjab, what they are lacking and what they must improve. At the same time, we have also improved. Now we are issuing notices to these central agencies also, which are digging for their work, but they don't manage dust very well. So that also we'll do. So all these things together, we are serious to take action. And every city specific plans are being made. And within next 2-3 months, the plans will be finalized. Action plan will also be finalized. And then it will start. So within 1,000 days, we will make a difference to the air of that particular city. So more 100 cities will be monitored regularly. I monitor every 15 minutes, 122 cities. In my chamber also, I got that monitor. And therefore, we will achieve the target, but it needs public participation. And that's my last point. You must walk more, you must cycle more, you must use your car with correct PUC and maintain it well and use less than what is necessary, absolutely necessary. Then you must save electricity, you must save water, everything matters because everything again consumes electricity, which again is produced. We have now very big size of renewable, 37% of non-fossil fuel share in our energy mix. But that's a great growth, and the Indian Solar Alliance has clicked. But that is what we are doing. But still, there is many units on coal, and that consumption we have to bring down. And to that end, I think that all will have to take. It's a national movement. There are some issues which I think should be bipartisan, which I think should be no party politics involved, because pollution is one such issue where we must, literacy is one such issue, health is one such issue. We all must be one in our voice, resolve, and the programs. Then, without politics, we can go ahead and make things much better and earlier. That's all from my side. Thank you and all the best. Yes.
We're having a problem with the sound, Shashi ji.
Your voice is cracking.
Shashi ji, I think it is connected to your computer because other voices are coming through.
Not audible.
Now I tell you, you know,
Can I use the opportunity to add my words of thanks to those of Mr. Shashi Tharoor and thank the Minister for his deep and insightful address, especially looking at the very many ways in which we are attacking air pollution. I'm also delighted that he spoke of the bipartisanship of the effort, and so we all stand with you. May I thank Mr. Nolan, may I thank Mr. Shashi Tharoor for participating in this inaugural session.
Shashi ji's voice thing is not working. Is it possible for him to sign in from another computer? Otherwise, we can have Dr. Mathur start the next panel while we are doing that. Could you advise as to what is best? You're going to sign in from another computer? Okay, we give it a 2-second break to be able to do that. I also want to thank the Honorable Minister for coming twice to our sessions, particularly under this very difficult COVID-19 pandemic. We are greatly appreciative of his joining us. So we're taking a few minutes break just to be able to sort out the technical problem for Dr. Tharoor's computer. Thank you.
Is this any better?
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes, excellent. Thank you.
All right. Well, here we are. I do apologize. I couldn't say goodbye to the minister. The question I was particularly keen, other than all the niceties which Dr. Mathur very kindly took over for me, the other thing I wanted to apologize for, I wanted to ask him for, was the app that he referred to, whether we could find out what it was, so that the audience for this webinar would be able to use that app that he was talking about. Perhaps one
Sir,
of the...
can I?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Prashant Gargav, Member Secretary, CPCB.
Yes.
This is Samir app launched by CPCB.
Great.
It's available on Google platform. It provides real-time air quality index for more than 130 cities and towns. It also provides facility to common man to report on air polluting activities in the neighborhood. And for Delhi NCR, through the automated system, the complaints get transferred to the implementing agencies. It also captures the action taken by them and reported back to the complainant, sir.
That's fabulous. What is the name of the app?
It's the Sameer.
Perhaps you can put it into the chat, Mr. Gargav.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
I can read it out to all the participants.
Thank you.
That would be very helpful. Well, let me thank everyone for this opening session. We are, as a result, a few minutes late for the next one, which is state-level actions for air pollution control. I have, unfortunately, a couple of bits of bad news. I've already mentioned earlier on that our featured speaker, Honorable Anand Singh, Minister of the Environment of Karnataka, is not on the chat unless by some miracle he has suddenly emerged because his assembly is in session. We have also now been told that the Honorable Mayor of Amritsar, Dr. Shri Karamjit Singh, has been detained in the current ongoing farmers' protests and demonstrations, and therefore will be unable to make it to a computer. And that leaves us with two participants, the Minister of Environment of Maharashtra, the Honorable Aditya Thackeray, and the Minister of Health and Deputy Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, the Honorable T.S. Singhdeo. I just after this webinar started, I received a message from Mr. Singhdeo that he has been unexpectedly and urgently called away. But he has very graciously found an able substitute who is even a namesake, and that is Ms. Ambika Singhdeo, MLA, who is actively engaged in these issues in the state of Chhattisgarh and is briefed and can participate in our discussions. So we will now have two young people, a young minister and a young MLA, to speak about the activities in their state. And if the others are at all able to join, that will be welcome. But if not, then the shorter discussion will both compensate for our slightly delayed start of this workshop, thanks to my technical difficulties, and will also give you all a slightly longer break before the next session. So let me begin, if I may, with Aditya Thackeray. I'm delighted to say that he's somebody I've been able to exchange a lot of thoughts with on environmental issues. In fact, he and I spoke together in a discussion under the auspices of the All India Professionals Congress, which I had on the current challenges of the environment facing the country. Needless to say, I hammered away principally on clean air. He has a much broader vision, as befits a Minister of the Environment. And I do want to thank him again for joining us today. He has just steered the successful conclusion of the inclusion of the city of Mumbai in C40, an alliance of 97 countries from across the globe, united in a common endeavor to develop strategies to arrest climate change within these cities. It's an alliance that covers a fourth of the global economy, includes 6 Indian cities, New Delhi, which is not a great advertisement for clean air, as we've all been hearing, Chennai, Kolkata, Jaipur, Bangalore, and Mumbai. And the argument is these cities are committed to developing a more sustainable future, particularly for the 700 million plus individuals who inhabit these cities. So first of all, my warm congratulations to you, Aditya, on this effort. It's wonderful and heartening to see young leaders like you taking up the mantle of climate action and doing so early into your tenure in the Maharashtra government. So I wanted to start with you by taking up this issue, and particularly the link between climate change and air pollution. Mumbai, as a major coastal city, is a number of ways is vulnerable to rising instances of rogue climatic events. And this was highlighted by a recent McKinsey study, which estimated that almost 3 million people living within a kilometer of Mumbai's coastline are under threat from coastal flooding, storm surges, and sea level rise. Now, Aditya, someone for whom such scenarios are the challenges you grapple with daily as Minister for the Environment, what are your thoughts on the linkages you see between climate action more generally and poor air? Do you see the fight for clean air as an integral part of your state's overall strategy to build a more sustainable future for its citizens, or does clean air pale in relevance beside the rather major challenges you are facing when it comes to flooding and other climate disasters? Aditya Thackeray, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, sir, for a kind introduction. And as always, I get this one gratification from you on Twitter always whenever I put out something to do with climate change and clean air. So that's a word of gratitude for you and for your words of encouragement. I think, like we spoke in a last conference, I guess, less than a week ago, what is really crucial is people like you, me, and the honorable panelists out here, and in terms of the political philosophy, moves towards speaking about climate change action, towards clean air, clean water, cleaner energy sources, and largely bring this conversation about a manifesto for politics and governance. I think that is very crucial. In terms of clean air, and when we speak about our priorities for the state, of course, we have set up in the last few years from the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board a 24/7 action plan for monitoring air, and every 4 hours we get a report about the air quality index and so on and so forth. However, when we speak about clean air, largely the conversation doesn't revolve around clean air because clean air is actually a result of our actions, or rather inactions, towards climate change mitigation. Clean air is always very, very intangible. It is something that you can't really touch, feel, or see unless and until you see the smog in your eyes, or your eyes start watering, or someone like me who starts living off an Allegra every day. So the moment you land in a city like Delhi, with all due respect to Delhi, your eyes start watering, and not because of politics, but because of pollution. So I guess that is one of the reasons, we are all fighting for this agenda of clean air. But when I speak about clean air, I would like to point a couple of, or rather, bring some things to light, really. We can't look at clean air as a different silo altogether away from climate change. We really need to look at how cities, and which is really why I've been, pushing for this city of Mumbai to be a part of C40, is primarily because when we speak about clean air, we've got to look at what our cities and villages are doing towards clean air. It's not just about emissions from industries, it's not just about stubble burning or firecrackers, but it's going to also start right from our homes and doorsteps. When I speak about homes, we also need to look at our own segregation of waste, because what we dump as waste, unsegregated, really goes to the dumping grounds, to the scrap yards, and somewhere in the backyards of our homes, we are burning or incinerating this waste in a very unscientific manner. And that is also adding to our terrible weather, or rather air quality that we see. Every time we have an update on the weather, we're obviously seeing terrible air quality, and it's always in moderate or high, and that's a high risk factor for all of us. So solid waste management is really what we as cities and as states should be really working on, because of course, like I said, the air quality monitoring, air quality measures, digital boards about whether the air is clean or not is one thing, but these are all telling you why it is, or where it is not clean. Why it is not clean is somewhere we could focus. Like I said, the story of Mumbai, and that really gives me hope, is 2017 till about August to September, our daily generation of waste was 10,000 metric tons a day. That's about 400 armored cars. We started this movement about segregation. We've got about roughly 40% of our housing societies from the 22,000 odd societies that we have in Mumbai starting to segregate waste, and the bulk generators, we've got it down to 6,500 metric tons. That's a huge jump for us. Imagine if all of us as citizens across India start doing this, and we don't have waste going to our dumping grounds, and we have nothing being incinerated. I think that'll be a huge contribution to clean air. The other thing, and I'm going to keep this very short because we're trying to make up on time, but the other thing I really want everyone to focus on is, of course, sources of energy, because when we speak about energy, we're also looking at thermal energy, which we have largely not moved away from in India. Many Western countries, many countries of Europe, many countries in the East. Just yesterday I was reading Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, has committed to climate change action and carbon neutrality, not by 2030, but by 2025. Of course, the scale of the country, the population is, we may say it is small, but I think the commitment is really large. And every step is a huge leap, like what Neil Armstrong said. It means a lot when we start speaking about climate change action in shorter terms rather than distant goals, where we don't really know who's going to be managing it. So we need to strongly move towards renewable sources of energy, because we've been working out on getting electric mobility into Maharashtra, be it Tesla chasing them or be it something like the 340 buses that we've launched. I remember first starting off with this whole fancy of getting electric buses to Mumbai way back in 2013. I was 23 back then, and I was obviously, I saw these couple of buses roaming around London, which were completely electric, noise-free, emission-free. And we started off then. So by now we've got 46 and now 26 more. We're going to go for 300 more. But when you speak about electric mobility, I think we need to build an ecosystem around electric mobility where we are fueling our cars, our electric cars, with renewable energy. And as a result of which, I've been pushing this for the last 2-3 years now, finally it's seeing the light of the day. The Middle Vaitarna Dam, which the BMC built, it's also the 9th fastest dam in the world. We're now going for 40 megawatts of hydel energy and 80 megawatts of solar energy, floating solar on the lake. And we would be going ahead and establishing it by mid-Jan. That is one of the things. The Mumbai-Nagpur Expressway, which we are constructing as the government of Maharashtra, goes through almost multiple districts. We would be solarizing the highway and we generate 230 megawatts of solar energy through that. I think this is one of the aspects we could really focus on. Like I said, when we speak about energy, when we speak about renewable energy and transport, this is all interlinked, be it newer metros, be it newer ways of public transport, designing our cities in a way that we could create walking cities, because most of our cities really came about after the age of the motor vehicles came about. So if you see the difference between Indian cities and most Western cities can convert into 15-minute cities. You can walk from one place to another and you would reach your destination. In a city like ours or any other new city in Mumbai, of course, or in India, we have zones created, commercial zone, industrial zone, residential zone, and that is not a 15-minute city. So we can create last mile connectivity and carpooling, public transport that reduces the emissions by large. Finally, there are two aspects which I think are very, very crucial. They are great contributors to air pollution. They are largely responsible for it, and it's up to us of how we take care of them. One is the amount of urbanization, or rather construction of houses, with a lot of old houses and buildings getting into rehabilitation and reconstruction, that, and the other is the amount of infrastructure that we're generating in our country. Of course, every particle of dust, every particle of SPM that is raised from every bit of infrastructure, moving of girders, moving of pillars, I think that is something we really need to look at and focus on. Be it creating urban forests, be it creating urban thickets, be it monitoring air quality, be it having air purifiers. I think there is a way ahead where we can find a balance called sustainable development. I think that is what we ought to do, because frankly, we cannot stop living and yet we cannot start living with a mask on. It's really horrid to do that. The nose starts hurting. I think it's time for all of us to realize what development means. It's time for all of us to stop, think what we're doing to the planet, and look at air pollution, which is a very, very tangible result of our tangible actions like solid waste management, energy resources, and things like that. So I think that is what we need to really think about. So we can't hear you.
I'm just going to say thank you and don't disappear, because I'll come back to you after I raise a question with our colleague Ambika. I just want to welcome Ambika Singh there. Ambika, you have a huge personal heritage to live up to as a niece of the late Shri R.C.S. Singh, 8-time Congress MLA, and a very early and foremost environmentalist who was writing and talking about sustainable development way back in the 1980s. So delighted to have you with us because of your own interest in the subject, as is a substitute for the Deputy Chief Minister who could not be with us today. You're the MLA from Baikunthpur in Chhattisgarh, and I just want to ask you, as has been highlighted in the media by the political class and civil society groups, issues like air pollution and the larger theme of climate change often gets caught in this sort of dichotomy of development versus sustainability. And that is, there's this inversely proportionate representative that says, a relationship that says that the notion that caring for our environment always comes with an opportunity cost in terms of our economic development. So if you want to look after the environment, down goes economic development. If you want to focus on development, then down goes the environment. Does it have to be that way? And I could argue that Chhattisgarh has a particularly interesting challenge. On the one hand, your economy is significantly reliant on industrial activity, mineral production, You have coal in your own constituency, which I gather is a very major priority in your own constituency. And at the same time, Chhattisgarh has responsibility for large swathes of our country's forest covers. Apparently, about 40% of the state is covered by forest, as well as tribal groups who are often missed in the narrative of development. So with your background of environmental action, how do you look at this narrative of the supposed trade-off between development and sustainability? And how do we collectively move beyond this debate? The floor is yours, Ambika Singh.
Thank you, Shashi ji. You are absolutely right. We are in a catch-22 situation. We have coal mines here, and the coal dust is polluting the whole area. It is polluting the air, it is polluting the water. But on the other hand, we are totally dependent on these coal mines. Most of our people are working here, and during this coronavirus times, we have seen that most of the people who are in the coal mine area, they have been affected very badly. But on the other hand, as we have forests and trees, the fatality rate in the forest areas have been really very low. So it is definitely a very, very difficult situation for all of us. We have to move with the times towards development. But on the other hand, at what cost? At the cost of the lives. And at the end of the day, when we are trying to give the next generation a better and a more advanced state, are we not giving them less of oxygen? What exactly are we doing to create a balance between the two? Because without a balance, it is really, really going to be very difficult. So we need to plant more and more trees, stop deforestation, to move from using wood to using bamboo and other sustainable energy forms. Another very important work which is being done in Chhattisgarh is we are moving away from the traditional fertilizers which were being used all these while. We are collecting the cow dung and proper fertilizers are being made and distributed. But to be able to move properly towards a better future, we definitely need the help of the more advanced areas of the country as well as the world, so that we are able to protect our forest and provide better air. And as Honorable Aditya ji just mentioned, the conditions in the cities is far, far worse, because today all the women, the pregnant ladies who are in the cities and are in contact with the polluted air, they have 80% chances of delivering babies who would have asthma as children. And until and unless we are able to provide proper, fresh and clean air, I personally feel it would not be right to bring these babies in such a polluted world. And I'm sorry for having said this. It's a very personal matter, because both my children have suffered from asthma. and suffered very badly. And that is the main reason I feel so strongly towards fresh air. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambika. That was useful. We'll come back to you again for one more round. I just wanted to turn back, if I may, to Aditya, because I think that the role that states can play in addressing air pollution is a very important priority. And a number of experts have frequently highlighted certain structural challenges in our current approach to fighting air pollution. For example, as Prakash Javadekar ji mentioned, we have a national clean air program, which has listed 102 cities called non-attainment cities that do not meet nationally specified ambient air quality standards. And frankly, that includes 19 in Maharashtra, Aditya, 3 in Chhattisgarh, Ambika, that's Bhilai, Korba, and Raipur. And amongst the challenges mentioned are coordination between center and state, limited funding coming from the state, I beg your pardon, from the center to the state, and of course, very severe limitations on local state pollution control boards when it comes to things like penalizing offenders and so on. And then, as Aditya has demonstrated in his brief stint as Environment Minister for about just over a year now, he did a lot to save the RA forest cover, the recent introduction of electric buses in Mumbai are the examples he gave us in his talk. States can and do have a vital role to play in driving clean air action. So I'd like to ask each of you a question following this rather long introduction to the question. Aditya, what is your view on the role of states as the point of view of a minister? Your recommendation on tangible steps that you can take independently as a state minister, and where you feel you need much greater support from the center to drive some of these interventions. And then I'll turn to you, Ambika, to see whether you have any additional thoughts on Aditya's perspectives on this question. Aditya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. I think primarily what we need is the federal structure to be strengthened even further, to have states more say, because finally the country that we're more like the EU, where we have different states having a different thought philosophy, be it with industries, be it with farmers, be it with the environment. There are also in many regions sensitivities attached to different eco-sensitive zones or hills or different places or things of worship to do with nature. So I think if the states can have more say, if the center can actually give more say to the states in terms of A, implementing the clean air program, B, also listening to a lot of things, like for example, when we as states are, especially as Maharashtra, we're giving more focus on the eco-sensitive zone and protection of biodiversity in the Western Ghats, and 3, largely to support us in terms of, if not economically, at least in terms of a thought philosophy or ideologically, in terms of ideating, not ideologically, ideating for clean air, in terms of what is the best mechanism to get clean air initiatives into your city or into your state. For example, helping us with something with the FAME2 policy in a much broader way. When we speak about strengthening the state, I also speak about saving what we have today. Very often what happens is something that comes from the State Wildlife Board goes up to the National Wildlife Board, and we have something like a protest over the denotification of an elephant corridor in Uttarakhand. I think these are things that could be really avoided, and we can set examples of not letting railways or not letting crucial projects, or what we call as vital projects, pass from eco-sensitive corridors or corridors for wildlife, because even though we call our own projects of state or of national or union government as vital projects, what are they vital for? For human beings. And if the human beings cannot survive without clean air or clean water, what do we do with these vital projects? So I think largely listening to the state in terms of what the nature of this eco-sensitive zone is, or biodiversity zone is, and how do we protect it. I think that is very crucial. The rest, I think the states are managing on their own, cities are managing on their own. If we can create a lab, something like what C40 is within our own country, for our own cities and smaller towns. In fact, what we are working on now next in terms of Maharashtra is we are picking up about 20 smaller towns which are non-industrialized, and we're trying to reduce the carbon footprint, or rather make them carbon neutral in the next 5 years by just calculating the carbon footprint, and planting as many trees as possible and going for solar energy and things like that. I think these are some of the innovative ways in which we could help our non-industrialist towns and move forward with the same.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you very much, Aditya. That's a helpful response. I'm glad that none of us is getting into the blame game of saying it's their fault, it's not our fault, that sort of thing. We all are in this together, and that's the right spirit. Ambika, do you have any thoughts on this question of what can the state do by itself? What can the centre do to help you better? And any observations on Aditya Tharoor's comments?
Shashi ji. Thank you, Shashi ji. The state does need to move independently, but with the support from the centre. Because without full support from the centre, it will be very difficult. We have coal mines here. And very recently, while digging a bore well, the earth was spitting out fire, and there is presence of natural gas. And under such conditions, after a certain stage, the state does look towards the centre for help and guidelines. And as far as the coal is concerned, it is definitely under the centre. The centre is responsible. And without the participation from the centre, it would really be very, very difficult for the state to take any step, whether it is to stop the pollution of the air or water. And whatever rules and regulations are made, they do need to be implemented a little more strongly so that there is a balance between development and protection of the environment, the air, and the water. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambika. And Aditya, I have one brief issue that I think is particular relevance to you, which is that we all know how important urban local bodies are in terms of plans to address air pollution. I've been looking at expert reports that say that 60% of activities to regulate air pollution fall under the jurisdiction of urban local bodies. But these in themselves in our country are branches of the administration with very limited financial autonomy and capacity to spearhead any meaningful clean air action program. Now, from your experiences, specifically in the context of Mumbai, Aditya, could you tell us a bit more about the challenges you may be facing in this regard and what the existing approach may have not adequately recognized about what local bodies can do to attain clearer air? I mean, let's face it. I mean, cleaner air is a real challenge in Mumbai. Perhaps you're not as bad as Delhi, but you're not that far behind either in the air quality index. So give us a sense from your point of view of what are the specific challenges in an urban environment that the urban local bodies find they're not adequately equipped to overcome?
I think primarily, like I mentioned in my earlier answer, when we speak about the federal structure, I also mean in terms of giving away powers to as many local bodies as possible, be it urban or rural. Of course, because of the GST and because of fund structure being centralized, the dearth of funds is really creating an issue for a lot of local bodies. Cities like Mumbai, Pune, maybe Delhi have largely been lucky because we have still a huge amount of money, in the banks, and of course we are now releasing them slowly into various projects, be it the GMLR, be it the dams, be it desalination or things like that. But when we speak about smaller local bodies also, the problem is in terms of anything we want to do, there's a lack of funds. Obviously, in that sense, be it going for electric buses, be it going for even regular buses, or creating better roads so that your transport is much faster and quicker rather than burning fuel in traffic, I think that is the issue. a city like Mumbai largely has been zoned into various locations, and we already have an industrial zone, we have a chemical zone, we have an IT zone now, we have a lot of construction, infrastructure work. So I think that is one of the issues where urbanization, when I speak of, in terms of the whole movement for a city like Mumbai, which is, almost more than 150 years or 100 years, we have schools here that are about 180 years. So Mumbai is of course older than that. But when we speak about buildings, our old buildings, getting into reconstruction, getting those buildings down, creating a lot of new construction, that largely is the, but I think that is still a very manageable one, especially living by the sea. Like I said, in terms of supporting our cities, we would be focusing on funds so that our cities can be independent and go for the best technologies. That is really important. Secondly, in terms of changes, I think one basic change we need to bring in, and which we've just tied up with the UNICEF for, is to bring in environment and climate change as a part of a simplified syllabus in schools and teach that syllabus not to just students, but to public representatives. I think to make it simplified and to bring it to them, saying this is what is happening in your lane and this is climate change or bad air. That is what is needed.
Great. Aditya, thank you for that. I think one of the things that you had mentioned during our last discussion on the environment was the importance of getting the political class across party lines involved by creating a sort of cross-party body. And I've taken that idea of yours very seriously, and I would be in touch with you offline to figure out who all we should try and connect across the country and across. It shouldn't be so unwieldy that we can never actually agree on anything, but it should be very broadly representative of different regions of the country and different parties. And we'll come back to you on that as an initiative that I would undertake in my air quality capacity rather than as a Congress MP. But I want to tell you, Ambika is a member of a committee we set up of legislators from Chhattisgarh on this very subject, which is chaired by the Deputy Chief Minister, T.S. Singh. And maybe I should ask each of you to give us a brief thought on the role of elected representatives in the fight for clean air. Ambika, you are an MLA. What do you see as your opportunities and challenges as a Jan Pratinidhi, an elected representative on this issue? For example, do you find your voters don't care enough about it? That it doesn't affect your votes, therefore what do you do? Is it worth spending time, trouble, and political capital on an issue like coal air? And finally, I'll ask Aditya to give us a closing thought on what he believes it may take to get the kind of support we need, and that civil society perhaps can offer a politician like him, so that he can carry on the brave fight without feeling that he's doing something that doesn't win him votes or win him support. So first Ambika, and then we'll end with Aditya. Ambika, what do you think as an MLA, as a politician, what do you need from your voters, and do you feel this is you can afford to give this the priority we believe it needs?
Thank you, Shashiji. It is really very difficult to explain to the voters that the cities, the closest city, Bilaspur, is about 4.5 hours from here. We don't have proper roads. We do not have any industry. We only have coal mines. And even for any medical emergencies, we have to travel 4.5 hours minimum. Under such conditions, it becomes very difficult for us as an MLA to explain to them that industrialization is not always good, and all that glitters is not gold. This would naturally create more jobs here, but on the other hand, it would also increase the pollution, and apart from that, that pollution would be affecting their health. We have people here who go to work as laborers in the cities, and they come back, and at times it is also young boys and girls below the age of 18 who travel to Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, looking for jobs. And when they come back from there, the only thing that makes them go there is the money. The mobile phones in today's day are making it very difficult to reduce the exposure. The exposure is there, and to work towards what they see and what is happening in the cities, the bright lights, is attracting them. And under such conditions, it is really very, very difficult for us to explain to them that this place, which is far from the cities, is actually a heaven in many ways. Because the most important thing, fresh air, is in abundance, and it is what we need the most. Thank you, Shashi.
Thank you, Ambika ji. And Aditya, the last word on this panel goes to you with the same question. How do you feel as an elected representative? You've got lots of priorities, and frankly, for any democratic politician, it's what the voters care about or can be made to care about that govern our priorities. How do you feel about whether this is a viable political priority for you as an elected representative, and in your case as a minister as well, and a party leader? Aditya Thackeray.
To be honest, sir, I think there are times when, the time actually calls for you to lead more than be populist and try to give in to every demand of the people, because they've chosen you to lead. I think, frankly, then we should do what is best for them and not what is asked by them. And especially when the intention is right and when it is not hurting their interests. I think what is very crucial now is to create a public action committee in every locality. We have something called the ALMs, we have the area locality management teams, we have NGOs, we have cooperative housing societies. If you go into the rural areas, something like the Pani Foundation in Maharashtra has actually taught people to do rainwater percolation. I think these are some actions where not the 100% of the people, but at least 30%, 40% of people, or even be it 5% of the people. If we start off by that, bit by bit, it's going to add up. Frankly, I can tell you this, that, when I got the buses way back in 2013 and now, and when I put it out last night or day before yesterday at around 12:30 about C40 cities and then the buses, the amount of people that have retweeted or rather messaged me after that saying, great stuff, this is the way to go ahead, this is what we need, I think the awareness is surely building up. What we need to do is, what we discussed in our earlier talk, is to simplify this talk of climate change, simplify this talk of erratic weather systems, bring it down from just the glaciers retreating and the snow and the ice in Antarctica and Arctic retreating and melting to what is happening in our own lanes. If we start telling people about why this rainfall was excessive or prolonged for such a long time, or why so many storms hit our country, why the farmers are getting unseasonal rainfall every single season, I think that is when our politicians, our leaders, our NGOs, our climate change activists, and the common man will actually start understanding what climate change is about. Look at what's happened with COVID. Initially, there was so much panic, but now everyone is roaming around with a mask. I think the awareness can really pick up if we can hit the right notes with the right messaging. That is very crucial. We need to start speaking about this. I remember 3 years ago when I picked up the RA issue in the municipal corporation elections for Mumbai, a couple of my journalist friends told me that they dropped the issue. It's not something which is important, not something that will be voted for. I don't know how many votes we could gather on that, but honestly, that wasn't for votes. The moment I got an opportunity as government to convert it to a forest, 808 acres in a city like Mumbai, we did that. And the amount of people that have got really happy, people who not even live in India, but they know that what RA forest is, people who've gone to IIT Mumbai and stuff like that. I think that is really what matters. And as we move ahead, it's awareness that is going to matter, but what more than awareness matters is action from our end, because there are some duties that we ought to do. I think we owe a debt to climate change action, because if we've got to live another 40, 50 years and we've got to give a healthier planet to the next generation, we need to take some steps. That may not be extremely populist, that may not be extremely popular, but it is the need of the time. I think that is what we need to look for.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that. Minister Aditya Thackeray, Ambika Singh, the MLA. It's been a rich and constructive discussion. I'm very, very grateful to you both. And I must say, India is lucky to have young politicians who are so committed to addressing issues of the environment and particularly of air quality. With those words, I'm thanking you both. Let me hand you back, all of you, to Shazia Rafi, the President of Air Quality Asia, US-based, who will take the discussion on to the next session. I will have to leave you for my own next engagement, but thank you so much for coming. And let's keep this, this important battle waged. Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Tharoor. I hope you will stay just a few minutes so that the next session kicks off. The next session actually is extremely important because whatever laws and regulations that Parliament passes, that politicians and ministers agree to, have to actually be implemented by government officials who are charged with that responsibility. And we are very lucky to have, through our work with Terry, the heads of pollution control boards, both the central as well as Delhi, as well as the state of Bihar with us. But more important, I also wanted to take the chance to introduce Honorable Meenakshi Lekhi, who is a member of Parliament, Lok Sabha from Delhi, and she has been involved with the work of Air Quality Asia since 2018, when she joined Dr. Tharoor and myself in various events. She also was at our in-person session of the third roundtable at Terry last year. I know that Meenakshi has to leave soon, so I will hand over immediately to her to introduce some thoughts on the topic and then introduce the first speaker. Meenakshi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Shazia and Dr. Tharoor and everyone else on the webinar, whoever is joined by us today. First, let me just thank all of you and also for allowing me to share my thoughts on how we can reduce air pollution in our cities. I'm grateful to Terry for the Air Quality Asia for inviting me to moderate this important panel and for the long-term measures in terms of air quality management. I mean, air is as close as it gets to our life. We can maybe live without water for little longer, a few more hours as compared to air. We can't live without air even for a few minutes, and that shows how important air is for the human survival and mankind survival. So far as bad air quality issues are concerned, I think all the big cities across the globe are struggling with it and or have struggled in the past. And then finally, over a period of time when they are dealing with burgeoning populations and greater demands on infrastructure, that they have come up with their own solutions. Other cities who are coping with these issues have to learn from all the other cities, other big cities who have already coped with it in the past. And I would say comparing Delhi with California, because California was exactly what Delhi is in 60s, and how they have grown over the period of time is something for us to learn from. While big cities in Delhi and Bangalore, like Delhi and Bangalore, get much frequent attention in the press, a recent study showed that there isn't much difference when it comes to urban and rural areas so far as air pollution is concerned. And during the lockdown earlier this year across the globe, showed us that pollution levels fell to a 20-year low, and citizens got a taste of what good air is all about and how best its management can be achieved. So that means human activity and man's existence itself is a threat to Mother Earth and also air quality. We are the polluters, and had that not been the case, the lockdown wouldn't have changed the way it changed. So all the natural factors and other factors that we keep talking about, end of the day, I think it's the human activity which is actually a cause of hazard. Health and economic impact of air pollution is something which we all know of, and it keeps repeating itself, whether it's breathlessness, low quality of life. We are expected to live with bad air quality. And according to World Bank, air pollution costs India up to about 8.5% of GDP due to its direct health and indirect welfare cost impact. And I guess everyone, whoever has elderly at home or young children at home, understands this cost better than anyone else. Air pollution in India is responsible for about 30% premature deaths, cancer, mental illnesses. So disease burden is also immense, and ICMR has said that bad air quality is a contributing factor in Delhi's COVID-19 cases. The fact is that COVID had its own implications, and when quality of air is bad, our immune system operates and works differently and adds to the burden of disease. And we all know how this virus has impacted our lives across the globe, and every country has been impacted. Existing laws and programs, the National Clean Air Program, NCAP, was launched, and the idea was to achieve 20 to 30% reduction of particulate matter concentration by 2024. And here I must say that our Infrastructure Development Minister, Road and Transport, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, was very, very emphatic about building the Eastern Western Peripheral Highway and reduce the number of trucks entering the cities, and with which there has been a decrease in the particulate matter in Delhi, and that is because the larger vehicles have moved out. Government's also taken up steps to boost electric vehicles and renewable energy. I have a little doubt because whenever we talk of EVs and we talk of renewable energy, I think we forget the cost of lithium battery, which itself is immense on the environment. And R&D must be there to find a replacement for this particular battery, without which no EV can operate. And no matter what kind of renewable energy we use, from biomass to solar to electric, we would always need a battery. And I think that's an area which we all must focus on and work on alternative battery modules. Ultimately, it is for the cities and states to implement the laws and come up with solutions. I mean, we all know how Delhi government posted children and youngsters during COVID-19 2 minutes to stop the vehicles at the red light and switch off and on-off system. Without any scientific basis, I think it's a waste of resource. Sometimes you have very simple solutions in eye, and feasibility of a solution is something which we all must work on. And pollution control boards and committees, although they play a very, very important role, but I think municipalities' roles cannot be abandoned. And for that, the financial wherewithal with which things need to be handled is something which we all need to work on. I'm pleased to, with these words, I'm pleased to introduce the speakers of today, and Dr. Prashant Gargava, who is the Member Secretary, Central Pollution Control Board. We will also have Vijay Kumar Gogiji. He's IFS Chairman, Karnataka State Pollution Control Board. Dr. Ashok Kumar Ghosh. He's probably not joining us, if I'm not wrong. He's busy in a meeting. Ashish Tiwari ji, he is joining.
He is joining. Mr. Gogi is not joining.
Mr. Gogi is not joining. I'm so sorry. Ashok ji, I'm very sorry. My apologies.
Thank you.
So Dr. Ashok Kumar Ghosh, Chairman, Bihar State Pollution Control Board. Dr. Ashish Tiwari, he is Member Secretary, Uttar Pradesh Pollution Control Board. Dr. Ankit Anand, IAS Secretary, Housing and Environment, Chhattisgarh Environment Conservation. And Dr. MP George, Scientist, C Air Lab, Delhi Pollution Control Committee. With these words, I will like to hand over the mic to Shazia and seek an excuse for myself because I have to be present elsewhere and I'm running behind my schedules. I am very, very sorry for not being able to join you hereafter, but I will watch you all subsequently. Have a fruitful discussion. My best wishes to everyone. Let's come up with solutions and find simple solutions. One last word from me, which I think I must flag to this particular group because this is a very, very important group which actually administers the laws and handles the pollution. That is, whenever we are talking of particulate matter, we forget the role of the topsoil. And whenever it's a question of role of topsoils, because most of you are doctors and scientists, you would understand where my concerns are coming from, that we must increase the humus content in soil. With the result, the water retaining capacity of the soil will increase, and also all the wild plants, etc., will grow. No matter, we will not have to do much. The water content will improve, and so will the air quality improve. These are interconnected issues. So soil management cannot be taken away while we are trying to manage air. Each one is connected to the other, and that is something which we all need to work upon. We are losing that track due to urbanization and construction of buildings. You are all scientists. You would understand the point I'm trying to make, and hopefully we will have a fantastic discussion. Look forward to listening to from all of you. And Shazia, please do the honors. Thanks for stepping into my shoes and letting me attend to some other call of duties.
Not
Thank
at
you
all,
very,
Meenakshi
very
ji.
much.
Thank you so much for having
My
joined
best
us.
wishes to everyone.
Thank you. So we will start first with the Central Control Board. I would like to ask Mr. Prashant Gargav to take the floor. He's already told us about the Sameer app, but now perhaps you can tell us what the challenges are of actually implementing the laws and regulations that politicians enact and leave you with.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shazia. We heard Honorable Dr. Mr. Prakash Javadekar giving some details about actions that have been taken at various levels by the government. There are a few points that I wish to bring here for discussion. Firstly, I'm extremely optimistic that in the years to come, and that too in the near future, air quality in our cities and towns will improve. Now, there are reasons for that. One is, as we see this forum, in the last few years, there has been substantial political discussion. Air pollution has also become public agenda. So when you have political leadership looking at a problem for solutions, and when you have public demanding solutions, things really start moving on a fast track. Second reason for my optimism is that in last few years, we have seen more and more of scientific analysis, scientific inputs coming into policy framing. We did source apportionment studies earlier for few cities that indicated as to which are the important sources, what are their contribution, so that we had a clear direction as to where do we need to target. We have set up a central control room, data analyzed on real-time basis, looking at meteorological conditions, looking at source contributions, looking at area-specific reasons or causes of air pollution, and targeting ground actions on pinpointed basis. So there's a lot of scientific input, a lot of data analysis, which is coming into not only policy framing, but also on day-to-day actions of implementing agencies. Some of the actions, as we all know, air quality is not just a local issue. It has global dimension, it has national dimension, and then it also has a local dimension. Many actions in the past have been taken at the national level. The Hon'ble Minister talked about rolling out BS6 fuel, automobile fuel, and also BS6 compliant vehicles starting April 1st, 2020. That will pay dividend in future to come when you have more and more penetration of new technology vehicles on road. The contribution from vehicles will go down. There has been tightening of standards for major industrial sectors. The most important sector, one is cement industries, where these standards have already been implemented. In case of power plants, it is something that is in process. About 100 power plants have already started meeting new sulfur dioxide emission norms. There is a phase-out plan. Large number of old power plants either have been shut down or will be phased out very soon. Now, sulfur dioxide control, which was not there earlier in case of power plants, the contribution is huge. Almost 50 to 20% secondary particles come from sulfur dioxide, for which power plants are a major source. So there are a lot many, similar to that, there is construction, demolition, waste management rules. Under Swachh Bharat scheme, many cities and towns now they are approaching towards better handling of waste management. So these national level initiatives will bring down overall air pollution levels, the background levels in towns and cities, and then we come to the city level plans. 110 city level plans have already been finalized based on the current knowledge of sources and their contribution, the knowledge of various options that are available on short-term basis, on medium-term basis, or also on long-term basis. They are put in place. Implementing agencies have been identified. Resources to some extent are available either by the central government, and the Finance Commission has given 4,000 crore rupees for select cities, which is essentially focused on actions to improve air quality. So these city action plans are already in place now, and then with better and better inputs will be improved upon. So there are plans, there is a framework in place, and then all the agencies, they have a direction now to work for, and I'm sure that in the years to come, we'll do that. We had a very successful implementation for Delhi. Of course, there are a few critical days when you have stable warming contribution coupled with extremely unfavorable meteorology that gives you few days of unreasonably high, extremely polluted days. But on year basis, since 2016, we have seen consistent improvement, and annual PM10, PM2.5 levels with 16 as base year have come down almost by 20 to 25%. So I think that gives us the confidence that we are on the right track. And then with implementation of city level plans. And in last few years, you must have seen, earlier, whenever there was a discussion about air pollution, it was primarily focusing on only two sources, industries and vehicles. But now we have realized that the dust, the waste management are extremely important, and thereby a major role of municipal bodies. One or two more points in terms of actions that will lead to improved air quality. Our capacities to monitor, it is being upgraded continuously. Now near about 400 towns and cities, we have one or other type of monitoring station. It requires the resources, it requires time. But what we have done is, we are also working with academic institutions. All of us have seen that satellite-based observations are giving some information about ground-based PM2.5 levels. And we have been able to work out indigenous correlation factor, which will supplement our measurement efforts and provide the areas which require more focused attention. National Physical Laboratory has been notified as National Certifying Agency that will promote more and more indigenous manufacturing of measurement equipment so that we can expand our network at much faster rates. I think long-term measures, the theme of this discussion is about long-term measures. We certainly will require technology-based solutions so that enforcement burden is limited because our pollution control boards have limited capacities to monitor. So we are resorting to better tools and techniques. Mr. Javadekar spoke about real-time monitoring of industrial emissions. So we are using technologies, supplementing our limited capacities. But then in the long term, we'll have to have technology-based solutions for which we already have a roadmap. So I think these are my few initial remarks. And I can assure you that we are on the right track. We have some understanding of the problem and also solutions. It's only that we need some time, we need some resources to move ahead and provide better quality to fellow citizens. So with this, I think we'll close, and then I'll be available for more questions if you have. Thank you so much.
Excellent. And I'm sure there will definitely be questions even after the event is over, because this is being live streamed on YouTube. So now I would like to ask Mr. Ashok Ghosh from the Bihar Pollution Control Board to take the floor and to tell us about the challenges of implementation in Bihar. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening to everybody. It is a pleasure for me to participate in this discussion that is a serious problem across India and particularly in the Indo-Gangetic plain. Bihar in that Indo-Gangetic plain, Uttar Pradesh and Bengal, where the soil is alluvial, totally level, soft soil. We don't have hard rock area. In the state of Bihar, hardly 20% is hard rock, and rest of them is soft soil, that alluvial soil. And that is very prone to formation of dust. And if you consider Bihar, we have three non-attainment cities, Patna, Gaya, and Muzaffarpur. And all of them, they have main emission problem with PM 2.5 and 10. Bihar is not highly industrialized, so there's less of industrial pollution. But there are others. The main sources that we have identified for source apportionment is there, of course, first the vehicles, because the roads are very narrow and the number of vehicles are increasing and traffic jams are there. And that leads to lots of increase as far as emission from vehicles is concerned. Then equally important is the construction and demolition that is there. And one thing that came up through our source apportionment study was neighborhood pollution. That was my chunk is about 30% from neighborhood pollution. What happened when I joined Pollution Control Board as chairman, there were only 3 monitoring stations located in Patna, Gaya, and Bhagalpur, one each. And we were not having any idea that what is happening in the adjacent districts. So the first thing that we started, along with the initiation of the Air Quality Action Plan, that we tried to increase the number of the monitoring stations so that we can know the real cause. And today we have 11 in total, and we have ordered for 24 more. And by the end of January, we will be having a total of 35 monitoring stations. And that will give you a fair idea, total idea, good idea, that what is the source and where to target our activity. A few things that already we have implemented in Bihar is there. That one major source of air pollution in Bihar was that of the brick kilns. There are about 8,000 brick kilns in Bihar, total, in my sector. We started converting them to new technology. The old technology was very high emitting as far as the coal output is concerned. So we instructed all the brick kilns to convert it to zigzag technology or any new technology that is less emitting. And fortunately, the brick kilns they cooperated. And as of now, 70% brick kilns they have converted into new technology that is zigzag technology, less emitting. And not only that, we are also promoting the fly ash bricks. Because, fly ash is abundant in Bihar due to thermal power plants, so many thermal power plants. And fly ash is a problem of disposal for them. And fly ash bricks are coming up now. We are promoting fly ash bricks because they're non-emitting. Only you have the cement and fly ash, mix it with water, and after curing it is converted into bricks. And quality-wise, it is as good as that of the normal red bricks. Almost 220 fly ash brick companies they have come up. They're producing. The problem is with them is acceptance. The psyche of the people, they are accustomed to using the red bricks. That is coming from the topsoil, very fertile topsoil of Bihar. And that way it is not harmful only for air pollution, but also for fertility of the soil. So we are promoting, we are giving, supporting the fly ash brick industry a lot. And we are hopeful that things will pick up. And at least for government constructions, all the government constructions, we have made it mandatory that it should be, all construction should be done through the fly ash bricks. And also in general, we have also instructed people to use at least 20% of fly ash. The problem with any environmental pollution problem is not the laws. We have many laws to control the air pollution. But the problem is the implementation of the law. And Dr. Gargova said that we are regulatory bodies. We're not implementing bodies. The action plan, it involves 6-7 departments, government departments, like Urban Development Department, Agriculture Department, Road Construction Department, so on, Forest Department. We have made a road plan for overall control of pollution. And we have distributed the duties also, that which department has to do what. Like Pollution Control Board cannot do plantation. Plantation has to be done by Forest Department. Similarly, construction and demolition things, they should be regulated. And for that, the independent department is there. And then municipal corporation is there for waste disposal. It happens that we circulate the laws, we circulate the advisories. But ultimately, on ground, things percolate very slowly. I don't say that departments are not cooperating, but one problem is there, that district administrations in Bihar, they are overworked with so many activities. And somehow or other, pollution is not on the top priority. So we thought that how to bring it at the top priority. That was a challenge. That everybody has thought that pollution is a secondary problem, not the primary problem. Primary problem is the food and irrigation and all that. Pollution comes last. But within the last 2-3 years, everybody has accepted that pollution is also a big problem and hazardous for human health. And so a very strong high-powered committee has been formed in Bihar under the Chief Secretary of Bihar with the Principal Secretaries of 6 line departments and Pollution Control Board. And they are monitoring the activities. That in coming years, we'll have better results and better data also, because as of now, the crop burning issue is not as rampant as in Delhi or Haryana or Punjab. But it has already started. And for that, we have tied up with IIT Delhi, and we are trying to make the GIS-based interface to know the exact location, real-time location of the burning of the crop, and that will also help it. And one more step that we have taken to control the air pollution, as I told you earlier, that one of the big source of air pollution is the vehicles. And unfortunately, in Patna, we don't have a very good public transport system. And due to the lack of good public transport system, mostly people use three-wheelers, autos, that is highly emitting. So what we have done that in non-attainment cities like Patna, we have banned diesel and petrol autos, and only license is being given to the electric vehicles, three-wheelers. And gradually the number is increasing. The number is increasing now almost in Patna, 60% of the three-wheelers, they have been phased out from roads, and they have been replaced by the e-vehicles. So that will give good results, and it is competitive too. But as one of the speakers told you earlier, that we have to think a long way, the disposal of the batteries also. With the e-vehicles, we have lots of batteries coming out. And right now, the e-vehicles are new. So the batteries are not a problem. But after 1 or 2 years, the battery will have to be discarded. And if you discard the battery in a crude way, it will lead to lead emission. And lead emission is also a very, serious health issue. So parallel, we try to solve one problem and we create another problem. So that happens again and again. But then these things are going on good. And third thing that also has been initiated in Bihar, that all government vehicles that is more than 15 years old, that has been taken out from the road. We are not going to private vehicles till now. We have started with government vehicles. There are quite big number, there are a huge number of government vehicles that was more than 15 years old. And we have withdrawn all the government vehicles that is more than 15 years old from the road. And slowly we are planning in phase-wise, stage-wise operation. It will come to private vehicles also, because in one stroke we cannot do, it will create lots of problem for commuters because of lack of public transport. So these are the things that we are doing, and we are hopeful that as far as air pollution scenario is there, that is a big problem in the entire Indo-Gangetic plain. And whatever efforts we will take, the problem will be not eliminated 100%. Due to the geological fact that I told you, that most of the area is alluvial, and alluvial is very prone, very prone. So whatever you do, PM 2.5 and PM 10 cannot be eliminated completely. We have to live with that. And for that, to decrease that, public participation is very important. I always believe that all the environmental laws, whatever law you introduce, that cannot be implemented only by initiatives from government. There is a need for public participation. Unless we as a citizen don't understand our responsibility also, this problem is not going to be eliminated. So one important part, key part, in my opinion, is making people aware that you also have responsibility. Don't complain only that government is doing nothing and air pollution is increasing, but think yourself that what you are doing to aggravate air pollution and how you can reduce it. And for that, awareness is very important. On that also, we are preparing some modules, ICT materials that will be uploaded. Due to COVID, we cannot go in the field right now. But after the COVID scare is over, then we will go for more, proactive awareness program also, where we'll try to convince them that public participation is also important. So these are the things that we are doing in Bihar, and that's it for the time being. If any question will be there, it is welcome anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ghosh. You are very right that the public also has to do their part. This is both a government, business, consumer issue. It's how we produce energy, how we consume energy, how we produce the things that we use. All of that has to be in line with the goal of having a clean air economy. And it's a major challenge. So thank you for joining us and describing the challenges you face in Bihar. I now actually turn to the scientist on our panel, Dr. George, who is representing the scientific cell from Delhi. And this is important from many points of view, because Delhi is always the one that is featured as the most polluted city, and of course it trades places with some other cities occasionally, including the one I'm from, Lahore. So I am really curious to know how you are finding the progress in this area and what are the challenges, largely because my own daughter is a severe asthmatic, and every time that she has gone to visit her father's family in Delhi, she has gotten sick. She's now a doctor and she still gets sick. So please, Mr. George, you have the floor.
Thanks, Sharia. So as far as Delhi, as you said, it have the tag of the most polluted city. And we listened about status from our Honorable Minister, Javadekar ji, and then Prashant ji also talked about Delhi. And I'm happy. Prashant ji only told when we compared with 2016, we improved about 20 to 25%. Yes, it's a success story, no doubt about it. But when you talk about the Delhi city, the capital city of India, it's a very small city or state with 1,484 square kilometer only. And on the other hand, it's sustaining about 21 million population, which is constantly increasing at an exponential rate. And about, you can say the population density is about 11,297 per square kilometer. And when you talk about the car density, that is more than 108 car per kilometer. So that's a different extremes. And when you talk about the geographical location, as Dr. Ghosh said, the city is surrounded by Indo-Gangetic alluvial plain in the north and east, and Aravalli Hill ranges in the south. Delhi Ridge is the only prominent geological feature which carry a patch of vegetation. And yes, we all proudly say it's a lung for the Delhi city. And one more thing here is Delhi city has about 21% geographical area is forest covered, but still it is polluted city when you talk about the particulate. And when you talk about the ambient air quality, it's always been an environmental issue over northern India, especially in Delhi, gets magnified during the post-monsoon months due to a combination of atmospheric and human factors. This includes winter season, winter inversion, and the valley effect apart from the like industrial and vehicular emission. As I said, very high density of the vehicle is there. Seasonal factors like dust storm, crop residue burning, burning of solid fuels for the heating, of course, not in the city, but the nearby area. And of course, events like firecracker related pollution during Deepavali and all. It aggravates, especially in the winter season. The average contribution of Delhi's emission in Delhi's PM 2.5, if we go to different source apportionment study, 36% is in winter and 26% in the summer. It means rest of it's coming from the nearby area. So there is no blame game. It is what I want to stress upon here. If you want to improve the air pollution problems in 1,400 square kilometer area, it's almost lost game. So we have to think about the total area, region-wise approach. Then only we get the good results. Now comes the question, what we did, how we are fighting with this. So the first thing which less talked and highly discussed matter is prevention of the stubble burning. Of course, in Delhi, if you talk about the very less agricultural area, so stubble burning is almost negligible. Whatsoever we are getting from our neighboring states. But then too, whatsoever area is there, which is agricultural residue, is generally here in Delhi, we use it for the packaging purpose for the different fruit mandis and other thing. And this year we came with the IARI-based fungus-based decomposer technology, which is we found very successful. Within 20 days, 21 days, the agricultural residue is decomposed. Then other problem which we face generally in the Delhi is the open burning. because people use biomass, whichever is available for the heating purpose and for the, of course, cooking or any other thing. So this year what we did, about 169 teams in the field for the surveillance in the night and day from the different stakeholders. And the other problem which generally complained by the other states is the open burning in the landfill sites. We have 3 landfill sites, but none of it is that scientifically designed. So officers are posted there to stop any type of burning, but it happens. And of course, the land area is given with the board, so any who is the owner, so common man can immediately contact with them. And of course, at the same time, the Green App, which Minister told, and the Prashantji also told, the Samir is there. And at the same time, the Delhi government had its own app, which is called Green Delhi app. It's available on the Play Store, and anyone can download it. And there, the complaint redressal is time bound. If it is not met by the time, it will go to next step, and the action will be immediately. The other thing which is coming is the dust resuspension from the road. Yes, of course, now we are more and more going for the mechanical road sweeping, and especially in the crucial times, we are going for the sprinkling. And the other thing what we are doing, we are more dependent on the greening and paving of the road shoulders, and different ULBs, 3 ULBs and PWDs are working on it. Area greened along the roadside, so at least there will be no loose dust and it will not wind blow. And when you come to the industrial pollution control, yes, Delhi has industries, but if you see what type of fuel they are using, they all are, any air polluting unit which is identified, it's about 1,600. All of them are shifted to the clean air, that is piped natural gas. If they are not working on the piped natural gas, they are not allowed to work, they are sealed. And the other source, which is because in this city, construction is always, every time construction is going on. So there is the ready mix concrete plants. So there is severe, that's very strict enforcement on them. They are identified. Their pollution control measures are in their condition, and that's checked. And if any violation is found, the immediate action is initiated. For the construction and demolition activities, yes, our Honorable Minister also told, we have the 3 C&D waste plant. There is an identified location where you dump the C&D material, and it is collected and it must be reused. And of course, on the Supreme Court initiative, we are going for the installation of smog towers at 2 places. This is the things which we are doing at present, but now comes the question, what is for the future? So the different interventions are there, which have the highest impact on the particulate concentration. We are planning for complete phase out of the biomass use, especially in Delhi, by the LPG penetration in rural household and jhopri clusters, use of agriculture residue in the power plants and other industries to replace the high-ash coal, introduction to the gas fuels. Already, as I said, in the industries, we are using gas as fuel. Introduction, strict implementation of the BS6 norms. And of course, we are developing the inspection of the vehicle system. And the major thing what we come with, the enhanced penetration of the electric and hybrid vehicles. Delhi electrical vehicle policy has been notified by the Transport Department in August this year. And now for these electrical vehicles, we are giving the financial initiatives, waiver of road tax is there, establishment of network of charging stations is developed, intensive communication plan for development of database of public charging infrastructure is there. So this type of steps are taken. And as far as everyone talked about the bricklines, but fortunately we don't have any bricklines in Delhi. Of course, it's a nearby area, it is there. And what we expect from the neighboring states, they must strengthen their paddy straw residue supply chains, and they have to control it. And we have to demonstrate the profitability of the paddy straw things. This is from my side at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. I note that you mentioned smog towers. Many experts don't quite think they are a solution, so we will leave it at that. But in any case, the harder issues of tackling industry emissions, transport fuel quality, and coming up with alternatives for stubble burning that answer the needs of farmers rather than penalizing them. Those are the elements that have to be dealt with. As we know, the mayor of Amritsar and our colleague Gurjeet Singh Aujla are unable to join us because of the protests of the farming community from their state. So it's not easy in a democracy. Thank you very much. This was extremely interesting. And if there are any specific questions, I've been monitoring the chat. I don't actually see any questions that people have put up, but I'm just going to give a moment or so if people have questions. Otherwise, we will wrap up and move to the conclusion. This has been a little bit of a difficult agenda because there were some last-minute changes. They generally always are, but I think with the COVID-19 as well as with some of the situation in the capital today, there has been additional pressures on the politicians. But I'm very pleased that people's commitment to work on this clean air area has continued. I don't see any questions, so I will take the initiative to close this session. I hope that you will stay to just hear the concluding remarks from my colleague Sumit Sharma, who has been working with me over the last few months to make this webinar a success, and who is the lead on this issue of air pollution, air quality management at TERI. Sumit, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Shazia ji. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I must first of all thank the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Honorable Dr. Shashi Tharoor, the Member of Parliament, the state level ministers who took time to attend this such an important meeting. I must say it is so difficult to bring all of them together along with the regulators, implementers who are sitting in this panel, who are the real workforce in India. And it is so important to discuss the learnings and the challenges which all of us are facing in our own domains. So I must thank all of them to stay with us till this, so late in this evening. I have few more points to add from my side. Coming from the research fraternity, I must say that actions which we are taking needs to be based on hard research facts, and that will only help you to take right actions, and the results of these actions will be visible even faster. And regionality of the issue is something which has been brought up by doing good science, and that has told us that pollution is not just restricted to small cities. In fact, it is coming from a very wide, broad airshed, and that's why the regional scale controls becomes very important. The science has also told us that it is not just the direct primary particles which are important. Unless you control SO2, unless you control NOx, unless you control VOCs, you will never be able to get rid of the secondary part of the problem of particulate matter. The link between climate change and air quality, and it's becoming more and more evident day by day. We can see how air quality is actually impacting regional scale climatic patterns, and the effect of meteorology and climate is more evident on air quality, especially what we see in winters on the effect of air quality is something which we cannot forget. I think one more point which we like to point out here is that doing the enforcement manually is probably not going to work in a country like India, which is so big, so diverse, and probably the demands will ever, always be much higher than the supply which will be required in the enforcement domain. So I think the advent of technology, the use of technology can help to some extent, and I think a lot of actions are already being taken. I think the real use of technology for proper enforcement of law is something which we are yet to see. Another thing is about the Indian technologies. I think we are still dependent on using mitigation technologies which are more or less taken from abroad, and it is high time now that under this Make India program we must put up a request to develop our own low cost Indian technologies for control, for measurements, and that's how the costs of mitigation can be lowered down, and it will lead to higher adoption in different contributing sectors. Last thing is about this linking the Finance Commission grants. So recently, the Finance Commission has granted money to the states for taking actions or for air pollution control. I think this should definitely be linked with the performance of the states and not just be based on the status of air quality, because it will sort of create a healthy competition between the states, and it will probably lead to faster results than what we are generally going to see. So with these few things, I would like to thank again all the panelists in this. All are my dear friends. I'm so happy to say that. And so thank you so much for staying with us so late. Over to you, Shazia.
Thank you, Ji. This is now sort of the end of an evening, and I would like to say a few words on behalf of Air Quality Asia. Is very proud to have been involved with this. Dorota, are you able to put up my slides?
Yes, of course.
Start.
Now, meanwhile, Shazia
Ji.
On this Finance Commission grant linking with the performance,
Ji.
Just wanted to inform that while the first installment goes so that work can start, but then subsequent releases will be based on city performances.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is linked to performance. Please.
That's excellent. That's really excellent. Okay. So this has been extremely interesting. I wanted to say just a few words on behalf of Air Quality Asia. To thank Dr. Mathur, Honorable Dr. Tharoor, Honorable Minister Javadekar, and also the State Minister Thackeray, and Ms. Ambika Singh Deo, and Mrs. Lekhi, and Honorable Nolan, members of Parliament and Legislative Assemblies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar and good evening. On behalf of AQA, I want to congratulate AQA India and our team led by John Koshi and Terry, led by Sumit Sharma, on the first convening of federal, state and city level policymakers on the critical issue of hazardous air pollution. You should know this is the first meeting of this nature anywhere in South Asia. We are particularly heartened that despite COVID-19 challenges, you have continued your critical leadership on clean air. Allow me to take you back a little and share the role parliamentarians have played in the global agreements on clean air and how Air Quality Asia India, working with key partners like Terry, fits into this global framework. Air pollution is an accelerator of climate change. The same carbon emissions that speed up global warming make air quality worse. Air quality monitoring allows policymakers like all of you and government officials that are doing implementation a real-time progress measure. AQA was established in November 2016 to implement the Clean Air UN SDGs 2030. AQA convenes parliamentarians, government officials, UN and development agencies, green finance institutions, and civil society to that end. The right to clean air was proposed at the Interparliamentary Union meeting November 2013 by the Parliamentary Working Group on Clean Air. The actual language on clean air was negotiated in the SDGs 2030 by September 2015 by parliamentarians, and these strong targets were signed by all governments, including India. So these are the three clean air SDGs, as you can see, SDG 3.9, 11.6, and 12.4. The targets are specific. They lay out the sources of air pollution and the implementation to be undertaken by governments. The whole UN system is assigned various roles in monitoring. UN agencies, WHO, UNEP, Habitat are assigned monitoring of these three SDGs. The World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and other affiliated agencies are assigned funding role to help governments in implementation. So South Asia is the one which is ground zero of this challenge, because South Asian governments face the world's most polluted cities with regard to air pollution. WHO estimates that 18 to 19 out of 20 most polluted cities in the world are in South Asia. 13 to 14 are in India. In addition to the majority of deaths from respiratory illnesses, which we are aware of, asthma, COPD, air pollution also causes 36% of the deaths from lung cancer, 34% of stroke deaths, 27% of deaths from heart disease. We also now know, based on research in both Italy and the US, that air pollution has increased COVID-19 deaths by over 15%. The next slide actually is extremely interesting. It is the result of research by the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution, on which Air Quality Asia serves on their board. This shows that air pollution deaths have a bell curve. They rise as countries move from low income to lower middle and upper middle income, and then drop again as they reach high income. So that means air pollution itself is rising during that intensive period of industrialization. And then there is something interesting that happens, which is that air pollution declines. So why is that? It's because our means of generating energy and our means of industrial production are polluting, are dirty, while we are in that phase of increasing industry. Once higher income is achieved, countries have more access to technology solutions that are clean and green. That has been the situation in the past. That differential is now changing rapidly as green energy, green production technologies are spreading rapidly across the globe. And these new technologies are not just coming from the so-called developed countries. You know, as you mentioned, this program of Build India. So India educates over 1 million engineers annually, in contrast to the United States, which educates about 40,000 engineers annually. Many of the global advances in clean production, in clean energy, are the result of the work of Indian engineers. So this is an untapped resource that governments need to bring on board so that the mental energies of those that are getting educated by your systems are actually put to use for a clean air economy. How to make that transition is, and how to pay for the cost of it. So most important for policymakers is how countries will pay for the transition to a clean air economy. Part of that answer, not all of it, lies in transitioning the current cost of air pollution to the economy. This was mentioned by Dr. Tharoor. As you can see from the World Bank 2016 report, India's air pollution had that year a 7.8% negative GDP impact. Later reports show a higher percentage as air pollution levels increased. So when you apply that to the 2019 GDP figure, the official figure, it is over 200 billion that is leaking out of the Indian economy due to air pollution. And the same picture applies to all the South Asian and Southeast Asian countries with varying percentages. China, for example, was 5.6%. It is getting lower. Globally, it was about 5.3 trillion in 2016, much higher now. These same funds need to be transitioned to socioeconomic development. That is the real challenge. So we know that this is possible. Technically, it's possible. Physically, it's possible. Within weeks of the COVID-19 lockdown, air pollution had dropped dramatically across the globe. And in Delhi, blue skies had returned. Nature restores itself if man's destructive activity can be curtailed. But of course, we can't permanently shut down the economy. And as you can see, if policies are not changed, pollution returns. So we are facing this challenge of how to maintain growth while not increasing air pollution. And COVID gave us a bit of respite, and it also showed us what was possible. Now we must and can build back better. We know from data from the state of California, from the European Union, from Mexico, Chile, China, that air quality improvement policies work. And clearly, California and China have not stopped growing. During the most tough, rapid industrialized phase, California from the 70s grew its economy, added jobs, and still reduced its air pollution. China is in the same boat. India is already on that path with the National Clean Air Plan. As we've heard, state and city governments are also following up with state-level plans. But with monitoring, there need to be targets, timelines, emission standards for power plants, industry, transport, including moving to electric vehicles. As one example, this is a clear visual of the soot going into your lungs depending on which Euro level fuel is currently allowed on the roads. This is from the International Council on Clean Transportation. Euro 6 or an electric vehicle would be an empty bottle. So that's our goal. We want the empty bottle. But whose job is it to get the implementation of goals, standards, laws done? The bulk of the responsibility and the power to implement is with national state governments working together in coordination with city administration. Air has no boundaries, either within nations or across nations. Legislators, federal and state, working with their government officials are ideally suited to building this implementation framework within the state and interstate. And it has to be done on a cross-party basis because implementation in a democratic system with a growing economy is much more challenging. Their role as parliamentarians is also as communicators to convince their constituents, their local industry magnates, their small business owners, farmers, along with their role in transitioning their budgets towards a clean air economy are all crucial. I know we at Air Quality Asia and Terry will continue to support that work for all our right to clean air. Dhanyavad. Thank you very much. I would now like to ask Honorable M.J. Nolan to conclude this conference with a vote of thanks.
Honourable Ministers, Excellencies, Honourable Members of Parliament, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Air Quality Asia, I want to thank you for your active and passionate engagement in this, the fourth round table consultation on cleaning the air, driving central and state level action. Over the past 2 hours, I think we've all learned a little, and some of us a lot, from your very considerate contributions. As a former politician, I think I would like to emphasize again, and because we have so many active and current politicians at our roundtable discussion, I think I have to lay emphasis on the role of public representatives in resolving this particular problem, be they at local, regional or state level. I think, there must be a commitment by all parties, and it has to be a bipartisan approach to it. And I'm glad that so many speakers and contributors recognized that particular issue. I want to give special thanks in closing this roundtable. I want to give special thanks to the Honourable Dr Shashi Tharoor MP, Chair of the Committee on Information Technology and a fellow board member of Air Quality Asia with me. I also like to thank Prakash Javadekar, you'll have to excuse my pronunciation of Indian names here, Minister for the Environment, Forestry and Climate Change. The Honourable Lekhi MP, Honourable Singh Deo, Minister for Health, Chhattisgarh, Chair of the Air Quality Committee. Honourable Shri Adiya Thakare, Minister for the Environment. Honourable Singh, Mayor of Amritsar in the Punjab, and the distinguished experts from the Central and State Pollution Control Boards of India. I would also like to thank Dr. Mathur, Director General of TERI, whose commitment and assistance and help to us in Air Quality Asia is very much appreciated. Also to Dr. Sharma, also from TERI, and indeed the whole TERI team. I want to especially thank our own Air Quality Asia President, Shazia Rafi, whose input into this has been invaluable, and the whole Air Quality Asia team, John Koshi, Dorota Pelka, and Vinay Inyar, in bringing this conference to a success. Lastly, but most importantly, none of this work would have been possible by us without the generous support of our donors, particularly the SED Fund led by Vikas Mehta. So thank you all again, and I hope we've all learned something from this particular roundtable.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And bye.